What if your biggest fan became your worst nightmare? If you haven't seen the movie Misery, I'm about to put you on. We're breaking the story, the psychology, and why it still holds up as one of the most intense horror films ever made. Paul Sheldon, he's a successful author known for his mystery novels, but he's ready to move on. He's tired of being tied to one character and wants to take his writing in a new direction. So after finishing what he believes is his final misery book, he gets into a car accident from a snowstorm. And that's when Annie Wilkes enters the picture. She rescues him, she takes him into her home, and introduces herself as his number one fan. At first, it seems like he got lucky, right? But real quickly, he realized this isn't a rescue. It's captivity. Annie is obsessed with Paul's work, not just as a fan, but as someone who feels entitled to it. She doesn't just love the story, she believes she has a say in how it should end. So when she discovers he killed Misery, she completely loses control. That was her favorite character. And in that moment, everything changes. She forces Paul to write and bring Misery back. And from that point on, everything becomes about control. Control over his body, over his environment, over his creativity. And that's what makes the movie so powerful. There's no supernatural element, no ghost, no demon, just a person with a dangerous mindset. But Annie doesn't think she's wrong. She thinks she's protecting something she loves. She thinks she's fixing a mistake. And that's what makes her so terrifying. Because in her mind, she's not the villain. She's the hero. And Paul? Poor Paul. He has to adapt to survive. So he uses what he knows, and that's writing. He plays into her obsession. He manipulates her emotions. He gives her just enough hope to stay alive. But the tension never lets up. Every conversation feels dangerous. Every move feels risky. And then we get to that hobbling scene. A moment that changes everything. It's brutal. It's shocking. But more than anything, it's a message. You're not leaving. And from that moment on, Paul isn't just trapped physically, he's trapped mentally. And that's where the real horror lies. This isn't a survival story, it's psychological battle. Creator versus fan, freedom versus control, and reality versus obsession. And in the end, it's about whether Paul can outsmart someone who thinks they know everything. Misery proves you don't need a monster to create fear. And the scariest thing is a person who refuses to let go. Because eventually Paul just stops surviving. He fights back. Not just physically, but mentally. He uses the one thing that Annie thought she could control, and that's his writing. And in that final confrontation, everything shifts. For the first time, Annie loses control. And in that moment, that's what makes the story complete. And remember, don't play games you can't win. And I'll see you in the next nightmare.